In the fall of 2019, Anchorage, Alaska, was shaken by a case so disturbing it seemed torn from a horror movie script. Our hearts are with the families of the victims. May they find strength and solace in the memory of their loved ones. Brian Stephen Smith was born in 1971 and grew up in Maple Crescent, Queenstown, South Africa. He was soft-spoken and mild-mannered, often keeping to himself in front of a computer. His childhood was fairly typical. He grew up with his mother, father, and sister. Brian attended the prestigious Queens College for both junior and high school, before moving to a technical college in Standard 9 or Grade 11 where he completed his matric. After school, he went on to serve in the military in Bloemfontein, a city many, including myself, know well for its quiet streets and historic charm. Interesting fact, J.R.R. Tolkien, author of Lord of the Rings, was born in Bloemfontein in 1892. Beyond that period, little is known about Brian's life. It's believed that he drifted from place to place, moving from job to job, living a life largely under the radar. According to Wayne Van Straten, a childhood friend, Brian was a genuinely nice person, fun, full of jokes, and easy to get along with. Even in primary school, he stood out academically. After an IQ test, Brian came out at the top of his class. But as Wayne would later reflect, Brian had fooled all of them in South Africa. Brian himself claimed that he had lost a significant amount of money in a failed business deal. Feeling like he had nothing left to lose, he made the decision to start anew, moving to Alaska in 2014 after meeting Stephanie, setting the stage for a life that would take a tragic turn. Adrian Pillay worked alongside Brian at an IT firm in Johannesburg for 2 years, and the two remained friends even after leaving the company. In 2019, Adrian was interviewed by the South African police in connection with Brian's criminal history back home. But the most unsettling part of the story came from Brian himself. While in Alaska, he allegedly boasted to his cellmates that he had been murdering women in South Africa for years and had always managed to evade capture. The sheer coldness of the claim, paired with his calm demeanor, sent chills through anyone who heard it, hinting at a darkness that had been lurking beneath his quiet, unassuming exterior. Bren moved to Alaska in 2014 at the age of 42, marrying Stephanie Bisland, a folk singer from Anchorage who was 20 years his senior. The two had met online while playing games together, bonding over shared interests. Stephanie was also involved in theater and had previously worked as a U.S. government employee. Brian, meanwhile, worked odd jobs to make ends meet, eventually receiving youth naturalization. On the surface, their relationship might have seemed idyllic. Stephanie even supported Brian in court. Brian loved photography. But investigations would later reveal a far darker reality lurking beneath the calm exterior of their marriage. By day, Brian and Stephanie maintained the appearance of a normal life. But by night, when Stephanie was busy with the theater and singing, Brian would roam the streets in his black pickup truck, searching for women. It was during these nocturnal drives that he would meet Valerie Casler, setting in motion a dark and tragic chain of events. Brian also had a secret affair with Alicia Youngblood, whom he met at work. What began as casual drinking sessions quickly escalated into a dangerous and twisted relationship. According to Brian, Alicia enjoyed being slapped, choked, and suffocated. She also claimed to have been chased across America by the FBI and alleged involvement in a gang that robbed banks. Not wanting to be outdone, Brian told her that he had also killed someone. 1 year before Brian's eventual capture, Alicia contacted a tip line, claiming that Brian had shown her a video of a dead woman. Detective David Cordy hoped to gather more information from her, but Brian was cautious and withheld further details. Alicia eventually admitted she could no longer continue. Brian's behavior was becoming increasingly wild and unpredictable. The police were forced to drop the case. During her interviews with law enforcement, she revealed that Brian had claimed one of his victims was a 15-year-old girl from South Africa. Alicia left Alaska for Oklahoma, but tragically, she later took her own life. Valerie Casler, a homeless woman, convicted criminal, drug addict, and sex worker, would become the key witness in bringing Brian to justice for Kathleen's murder. In October 2019, Smith spotted her standing by the side of the road in the rain. He asked if she wanted to ride with him and even asked for her help in finding a particular working girl. They drove around through the night, eventually stopping at the airport to watch planes. Before pulling into a gas station, Valerie's cell phone fell between the console and the seat. As Valerie searched for her fallen cell phone on the floor of his truck, she discovered another phone and, out of habit, took it. She fled. It was now around 6 in the morning when she returned to her tent, unaware of the shocking contents she was about to uncover. Though Brian's face was never visible, Valerie noted the European accent, the same as the suspect. The victim was Kathleen Jo Henry, 30-year-old, homeless, Alaskan woman. Reported missing in 2019. In a grueling twist, Kathleen was one of Valerie's friends. Valerie will later testify in court. At first, I didn't realize it was Kathleen. The injuries were so severe she was almost unrecognizable. Given that these women were all experiencing homelessness, it's likely they crossed paths and knew each other. She sat with this for 3 days and eventually transferred the footage to a memory card and handed it over to the police. Ironically, Brian would later be found guilty on Valerie's birthday, a chilling coincidence that cemented her role in bringing a murderer to justice. Detective Brendan Lee would later call it the worst thing he had ever seen happen to a human being. His colleague recalled an earlier case involving a man with an accent, Brian Smith. Would this be the case that Alicia Youngblood warned them about? When detectives examined Brian's cell phone records, they saw his location history. It placed him exactly at the Marriott Hotel during the time of Kathleen Jo Henry's murder. Detective Lee checked the guest list of the Marriott Hotel, and sure enough, Brian's name appeared from 2nd to the 4th of September. That means he tortured Kathleen for 3 days. He also matched the carpet in the hotel with images from the video. Days after the video surfaced, human remains were discovered at mile 18 of the Seward Highway. Cell phone data confirmed Brian had been in the exact location where the body was found. Investigators also recovered footage of Kathleen Jo Henry in the back of his pickup truck. During interrogation, Brian admitted to creating a fake Facebook account under the name Bradley Phillips, his dark alter ego. This revelation gave police an opening to press Good Brian to confess the crimes of Bad Brian. When he saw no way out, he finally admitted to murdering Kathleen Jo Henry, 30, a homeless woman from Alaska. She was reported missing in 2019. Brian took her to the Midtown Marriott Hotel, where he tortured her over the course of 2 days before ultimately strangling her. He then discarded her body along a nearby highway. The detectives thought the confessions were over. But then Brian asked, "Are you guys in a rush to go home?" Sensing there was more, they replied, "We're not in a rush. We've got all night." That's when he confessed to killing Veronica in his own home. According to Brian, Veronica had been drunk. He offered her warm food and a place to sleep. But when he asked her to shower, according to Brian, she smelled and his wife might notice. She refused. You could hear her on the video say no multiple times. Brian went to the garage, retrieved a pistol, and forced her to comply. When she continued to resist, he shot her while she sat on the couch. He later dumped her body on a roadside in Butte. Evidence quickly confirmed his story. A human skull had been found 6 months earlier at the location Brian named. Investigators also discovered an SD card containing a photo of a naked woman, Veronica Abouchuk. Veronica Abouchuk, 52, was an indigenous mother of 4. She had struggled with homelessness, and her body was found dumped along a highway, bearing a bullet wound to the skull. Her family had reported her missing in July 2018. Veronica was also Valerie Casler's best friend, the same woman who would later provide police with the crucial phone stolen from Brian. Tearfully, Valerie recalled, "I know her children. She had a drinking problem, but she was not a bad person." Veronica's oldest daughter, Christy Grimaldi, would later testify about the devastating phone call from her family, informing her that her mother's body had been found. a moment that would forever haunt her. Police arrested Brian Smith at the Anchorage airport as he returned from a trip. During the trial, a disturbing picture emerged of a man who took pleasure in the torture of his victims. Brian openly described himself as a serial killer. Over a 3-week trial, the jury was forced to watch the videos of his crimes, including Kathleen Jo Henry's murder, during which his laughter could be heard as he tortured her. They were further required to watch several hours of his police interrogation. Let me tell you, I watched the footage and it's horrible. YouTube have strong standards. I have to pick the right words and can't describe the true horror this man put these women through. Brian can be heard on the footage. Sadly, in my movies, everyone dies. The footage left no room for denial. Spectators watched in stunned silence, their faces reflecting the shock and sadness that had haunted the victims' families for so long. Meanwhile, Brian sat quietly in the courtroom, looked bewildered, as if none of it had anything to do with him. In February 2024, the jury convicted him on 14 charges. Presiding Judge Kevin M. Saxby sentenced Brian to 226 years in prison. Yes, you heard that right, 226 years. The courtroom erupted with a mix of relief and joy as the families finally heard the guilty verdict. After years of pain and uncertainty, they could at last feel a sense of justice. While the families finally felt a sense of justice, advocates for Indigenous women in the courtroom wore red handprints across their mouths, a haunting reminder of those whose voices had been silenced for far too long. And I have to say this, Valerie Casler's courage in coming forward was key. A true hero who helped bring a killer to justice. Brian plans to appeal the conviction. He is serving his time in Anchorage Correctional Complex. Another twist. Prosecutors have released photographs of a woman who may be a third victim of Brian Smith. The images, recovered from one of his cell phones when they arrested him at the airport, show a clothed woman lying on the ground, her condition suggesting she may have been harmed. Police have yet to identify her, but a forensic artist's sketch has been released to help authorities and the public provide information. The discovery of these images offers a chilling glimpse into the full scope of Smith's crimes, and investigators hope it will finally give a name to this unknown woman and bring her story to light. Many hope that South African police will also take a closer look at his past to see if there are more victims in his home country. This case highlighted the vulnerability of Alaska Native women who faced disproportionately high rates of violence, and exposed a dark reality, leaving the community of Anchorage forever changed. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into compelling cases.